Our motto at Bass U is never stop learning, and as I'm recognizing people from around the room, and that's key. It's important in every fisherman's journey you're always learning. You have to keep learning. You can't close your mind. You can't close things off, and that's what I'm going to talk about. A new technique that I learned, that I brought into my arsenal, and has really helped me. Fishing is constantly changing, and we need to stay up with it. I have been guilty. There's probably some stubborn people in the class like me that have a hard time changing. I can tell you this: I had a chatterbait. Are you guys familiar with the chatterbait? It's won like $6 billion now. I had them 5 years before anybody had them. But I said, this is a pretty stupid looking lure. It's got a dumb metal bill and no weed guard. This thing is no good. And it sat in my boat forever until, finally, guys started winning tournaments. Brian Thrift won back-to-back tournaments with that tool. And then the light bulb goes off. I said, well, maybe I'll pick it up and start learning it. A Senko was another one. I left that one sit in my boat for too long. I was a shaky head guy. I throw a wacky worm, and I'm like, whoa, I don't quite know why this bait is better or where it fits, and I waited too long, and before I started picking it up. So I've learned to never stop learning, to keep pushing, keep trying to learn some of the new stuff. We've got something called a Tokyo rig out there that I'm experimenting with now. I'm trying to figure out its assets and how I can better use that in my fishing. So it doesn't matter whether you're a tournament guy like me, or a lot of guys are going to be speaking here, or you just like to catch more fish. The key is to keep progressing, never stop learning. And one of the things that I learned about this year, or not this year, really, I've been developing it over the last couple of years, is tail weighting a stick bait. And I've done this, a stick bait. This is a Senko. This is probably the greatest lure that was ever designed. So simple. So are there any Senko haters out there? One? No, I'm not a hater. No. Man, you guys watch Bass University Live or Ike Live, Brian the Carpenter, and he is an adamant Senko hater. He would rather not catch fish for a month than tie one of these on, because he just does not, the whole concept to him, he doesn't like it. Doesn't connect with it. A lot of people are like that. Not me. I've won tournaments. I've caught so many fish. It's opened up me to getting bites in areas where I could never get them before, and that's huge, right? There's certain power fishing techniques that I love. I'm a power guy. I love to flip, crank, top water. We all like that, I think. But being able to slow down has allowed me to catch a lot of fish that I was just fishing through and missing. But fishing it weightless style, wacky style, that's kind of how I got introduced to it, kind of how everybody got introduced to it. But I started working with this bait and weighting it in different ways. Some of you guys may have seen I won the Cayuga tournament on the Bassmasters a few years back, and I was actually pegging a 3/4 ounce VMC tungsten flipping weight in the front of this bait, and I was flipping outside grass edges, and it would fall like a rocket erratically. And I started experimenting with heavy weights, and I started experimenting with light weights, and I started experimenting with tail weights. And they all have their effectiveness, and today we're going to talk about the tail weight system. And it changes this bait. It makes it a whole new bait. You might not think it to look at it, but by putting that weight in the rear of the bait, it completely alters the way it falls. It alters the way that the fish see it, the way they react to it. It puts it in the strike zone in places that you can't get it with other techniques. And it's really changes it. And here are some of the key things that I took notice of. It's consistency and size, right? That's huge. Like for tournament guys, well, of course, with MLF is changing everything now, right? Every fish counts. But the weightless slow baits like that, a lot of times would get a bad rap as only being able to catch numbers and not being able to catch big fish. But I can tell you they catch big fish. Just last year at the Bass Open, I call it the lunker in the Bassmasters tournament on Lake Champlain, tail-weighted Senko. It can catch the biggest fish in your area, and it can get bite after bite after bite after bite from variety of fish. So if you just like to catch fish and you want to target big ones, it does it both. Not a lot of techniques can do that. A lot of times when you're flipping, you're after just the big ones, you know, or if you're drop shotting, you're after just the little ones, you know. But this is a technique that can deliver both, which is why I love it. Back, please. And I'll tell you how I found it. And this was key. And it's funny because I was just talking with Ish this morning. We met at breakfast, and you know, we were talking about grass flats. We were actually talking about Lake Oneida and how he had a grass, the largemouth on Lake Oneida in New York State are a little bit tricky because they live in the no man's land. They live in that 3 to 4 zone between the grass edges and the docks, the bank. And they're hard to track down. It's a sparser grass. It's not thick enough to flip, you know, and it's not thick enough to frog, you know. It's really sparse kind of grass habitat. It's a little bit too thick for a spinnerbait.
It's Mike Iaconelli. This is Bass U TV.
Here's what's awesome about Bass U TV.
You get the top instructors.
Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
And that's why you want to check out Bass U TV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bass U TV.